The Periwinkle Squared Quilt was one of my favorites from Triple Play last year, and so now I've figured out how to put a mini inside and we're making a set of throw pillows. So the pattern for this is going to show you how to make 4 of these adorable pillows. You're going to want to grab a charm pack. I'm using Snow, and for our background we use this beautiful Kona rose color. It's also going to be super helpful if you have both the mini and the small periwinkle template, as well as a 5-inch squaring ruler. So have all of those ready to go, and let's dive into making this. So up first, we are going to take our 5-inch squares, and you can stack a few at a time. And we are going to use our periwinkle template, and we're going to line it up in one corner, just like so, and trim off our excess. So if you have a rotating mat, that can be kind of helpful when you're cutting all of these, but it's also very forgiving. So if you just want to rotate your fabric, you don't need to worry too much if there's a little bit of shifting. There we go. All right. Now for each pillow, you are going to need 8 of these large periwinkles that we're going to make. I have a few ready to go, but we're going to take each of our periwinkle shapes and we're going to pair those with 2 2-inch by 5.5-inch rectangles. So I went ahead and cut those from this pink fabric that is my background of my pillow. And we are going to lay that along this long side of our periwinkle. And what you're looking for is you just want a tiny bit of overlap here at the top and the majority of the overhang to be happening down here at the bottom. So let's go ahead and sew this 1/4 inch, and we'll press it open and add the other side. All right. So it's super convenient to have your iron close by because we're just gonna roll this back. All right, so once we have that pressed back, we can bring in our other rectangle. And so same idea as before, we're just barely overlapping this top and we're coming all the way down this long side. You'll notice it's not gonna come past this first rectangle that we sewed, and that's okay because we're gonna trim this off. So this is just enough fabric for us to have as little waste as possible. And then we can go ahead and sew this down with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. All right. Now we'll go ahead and press that back as well. Just like so. And this is how our block is going to look. And so I know it looks a little wonky and you're like, how in the world is that gonna turn out? So that's where our 5-inch square ruler comes in really handy. We're always going to line back up with that original 90-degree angle that we had from our charm pack. And you can see how this fits on there, and we can trim off this excess to have a perfect square. So let's go ahead and do that. Just like so. We can spin this around. And right there. There we go. And so now it's back to 5 inches square. You're gonna need 8 of these for each pillow. I have a whole stack of them ready to go here. So we're just gonna set these aside for now and we're gonna work on our minis. So let's go ahead and grab everything that we need. So it's a very same idea as far as cutting out the periwinkles go, but from your 5-inch square, you're gonna be able to cut 4 at a time. And so you're gonna take your little template and you can either fold this in half and cut 2 at a time if you'd like, whatever you're comfortable with. And it's just gonna fit on that outside corner, and you're just gonna use your rotary cutter and cut them out, and they look just like this when they're cut out. And so we are going to now pair those up with our 1.5 by 3.5 inch background strips. So I have those ready to go. I'm gonna go ahead and make 2 of these just because sometimes when things are smaller, it looks a little trickier or it's harder to see, and I wanna make sure you guys see the process. So let's go ahead and pull all of these over to the machine. It's the exact same concept where we're just going to start with that little bit of overhang at the top and have the majority of it down here at the bottom. So I'm going to go ahead and chain piece one after the other. We'll trim it up and add the other side. So let's go ahead and do that. There's one. This is a really convenient project to do chain piecing on because you are going to have a lot of repetitive sewing. So you would just put all 8 of yours in here, one after the other, and then you could sew them all, and then we'll come back and press them. That's a nice routine. So now we can go ahead and press these back. There's one, and then the other. All right, now, contrary to the first larger version, we are going to get rid of some of this excess fabric. So we're going to go ahead and lay our ruler just along this opposite straight edge, and we're going to cut off this piece at the bottom. So just like so. And again on this one, just like so. And so now we can turn this back around, and we can bring our little rectangle and we can add it to the other side. And it's going to get rid of that bulk that would be difficult for us to sew through, especially on these small piecing projects. And so we can just sew these one after the other. There's one. All right, let me cut these apart, and then we'll press these. Just roll it back. All right, there we go. So now these are done, and we can square them up. So I want to tell you, because I have made this mistake many times, for some reason, we want to square them to 2.5. In order for this all to match up, we're going to square them to 2 3/4. So that is the number you are looking for on your ruler. It's a little bit, it's not hard. We just have to really think about it when we're cutting. I have squared them wrong many times. That's why I'm telling you. So I'm going to lay my ruler on here and I make sure that I can see that 1, 2, and my 3/4 is right there. So I'm just barely trimming off any. I always start by just straightening these 2 little sides. Just cut that little wing off of there. There we go. And now we can flip this around, and I'll put that right on the 2 3/4 mark, which is right here on my ruler. And now we can square this off. Just like so. So let's go ahead and do that again. So we're gonna just square off this first side, flip that around, and we're looking for 2 3/4, double checking both sides, and just like so. Beautiful. Another thing that you can note is this 45-degree line should run right through the middle of that periwinkle. And so that's a good way to keep it all straight. All right, so let's clean some of this up. And now we are going to pair 2 of these just like this with a 2 3/4 inch background square, which that's our pink in this case. And so now we can put these together just like a 4-patch. And so let's go ahead and take this to the machine. We'll just slide this right behind as long as I have it all lined up. And now we can just open that up and sew it together. Just like so. Take a few anchoring stitches and then make sure that center seam is nested. It's really the only place we need to line this up. There we go. And trim our threads. Now we can give this a good press. There we go. There is our little periwinkle unit. So now let's go ahead and lay this out. So this is so fun. We are going to take 4 of these small units, and when we turn them, even though they're all made the same, it spins in the middle here, just like so. And now we can come back and we can surround them with the larger periwinkles, just like so. There we go. Whoops, turn that one more time. There we go. And then all we need to do to finish this off is put our solid 5-inch squares in the corners. So let's go ahead and do that. And one more. There we go. How fun is that? It comes together so fast. So you're just going to sew this in rows, 4 across, and then add 1 row to the other. And so when it's finished and quilted, it looks just like this. Isn't that so cute? I went ahead and quilted it with posies, and then I trimmed this up to 18 inches square. And now we can add our backing to turn this into a pillow. So let's go ahead and talk through that. I'll move some of this out of the way. Because I wanted this little piping edge, we finished this off a little bit differently since I'll bind it on the outside. So let me show you how I did that. So we'll set this aside. Since I trimmed this to 18 inches square, that's the width I'm looking for my backing pieces. And so what I did is I took my background fabric, which is this pink, and I cut an 18-inch strip by the width of fabric, and then I cut that in half to form 2 rectangles. And then all I did was I folded that in half like so, and along the fold side I just did some top stitching. And the reason that I did this method is it just gives it a little bit more stability, and I like that in a home decor project. If you didn't want to use this much fabric, you could totally just turn under the edge and finish it that way as well. And so we are going to take the wrong side of our pillow front, put that face down, and then we can line these up on the back, and we're just going to overlap those 2 finished edges. And this is an instance where pinning is really your friend. So I have some pins here. I'm going to pull these over, and I like to secure the middle where that overlap is and make sure that my corners stay lined up. And so sometimes just taking the time to do a few pins, you'll be really glad you did. All right, so I like to do it this way just because I have found with this method, it can shift on you. And so then to finish this off, I just have my binding strip ready to go. We can flip this over. And so since this is a small project, I do want to talk a little bit about the width of the binding. On a quilt, I usually do 2.5. For a small project like this, I like to do 2 1/4. And so it's just slightly narrower, and it's going to give you a really crisp, clean, almost piping look to that binding. It just makes it really, really nice. If you have a hard time holding that in your hand, go ahead and use 2.5. It's okay, whatever is easiest for you, but that's what I've done here. And so now that we've pinned this, this is 2 strips sewn together on the 45, and we are just going to start on the front and bind this as we usually would. You're just gonna remove those pins as you get to them. That's why I pinned them this way, so I can see the little heads of the pins poking out as I'm approaching them. And then we'll just finish that off like normal. And it turns out absolutely beautiful. This is your finished project. The pattern will give you enough to make 4, so you can toss them on your couch or your bed and have a great look for spring. So I hope you enjoyed this project on the Mini Periwinkle Square Pillow, and I'll see you next time. Hey everyone, thank you so much for watching at home. We're so excited to be almost 1 million quilters strong here at Missouri Star. And so if you haven't already joined our family, be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you can be notified of all of our future tutorials, and we'll see you soon.